With a show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of the Black Death? It's a pretty intimidating name, isn't it? Good evening, I am Andrea Keenum, and I am here today to talk to you about the origin of the Black Death, the spread, and the impact it had on the people. During the Middle Ages, Europe was once a desirable and thriving place to live. Unfortunately, Europe went through some drastic changes. According to Louis Salvacek, author of The Black Death, the Great Famine came in 1315 to 1322 and killed about 20% of Europe's population. And then the Black Death arrived. Between the years of 1348 and 1350, Europe was faced with one of the worst pandemics in history. According to Salvacek, Alexander Yersin, a field researcher, discovered the underlying cause of the Black Death in the 80s. It was later determined that the Black Death was transferred from rodents to humans. A rodent would be infected with fleas, carrying the disease, and the flea would transfer the disease to humans in search of a new host. This is a picture of the flea carrying the disease. And then this is a picture of the rat. Due to the fact that people lived in less than perfect conditions and were unsanitary, it was the perfect place for the Black Death to hang its hat. According to Salvacek, eyewitnesses say that some people will seem fine one minute and be dead the next. This is a sign of septicemic plague, meaning that the bacteria was introduced directly into the bloodstream, taking over all vital organs and causing sudden death. You wouldn't even see it coming. Pneumonic plague was also a factor of the Black Death. This is where the bacteria would attack the lungs, causing a person to vomit or spit blood, which in turn caused death. You may ask yourself, what about the spread of the disease? How did it get to Europe so fast? Well, since trade was such a huge commodity to Europe during the Middle Ages, that's how it got to place. Rats that were infested with fleas would dock onto the boat and then spread it to everybody else on the boat, and then the people who docked the boat would get the disease and spread it on, so on and so on. According to Sean Martin, the author of The Black Death had spread from Italy to Germany and then France in a matter of months. It is said that the Black Death has killed as many as 500 people a day in some towns, and it killed anywhere from 33 to 60% of Europe's population in a matter of 4 years. Excuse me. According to Louis Salvacek, 25 to 45 million people died because of the Black Death. That is a staggering number of people. Many people thought it would be best to flee, become isolated, and even left their children behind to die. Among the first to die were doctors and priests, since they were the front-line people. After several casualties, preventive measures were taken. According to Sean Martin, markets were monitored, travel was restricted, importations of goods were banned, and even ceremonies weren't even allowed. Some villages even flew a black flag from the church to serve as a warning to people not to even enter the town. The plague was an unstoppable force. So how did people react to the pandemic? People blamed priests because they were unable to stop the plague from happening. There were even rumors that the Jews had poisoned the water. According to Sean Martin, several Jews were imprisoned into buildings and even burned alive, and some were even left to starve. This is a picture of the persecution of the Jews during the Black Death. Another presence during the Black Death was the Brotherhood of Flagellants. These men and women thought that if they were to inflict pain on themselves, then God would forgive them and the plague would disappear. They traveled from town to town and held public demonstrations right in the courtyard. And according to Sean Martin, the Brotherhood of Flagellants soon became carriers of the plague and were soon outcasts, unwelcomed, and looked at as heretics. Many people thought that God was punishing them, and regardless of how far you traveled or how long you tried to stay alive, there was really no place you could go to escape the Black Death. As you can imagine, the Black Death was an extremely devastating time in history, but it soon came to an end, thankfully. By 1352, the Black Death was done taking lives, although Europe still had many plagues till the 1600s. The lifestyle of the European people changed. According to Louis Salvacek, housing materials were changed and better sewage and garbage controls were placed. Not to mention that the creation of antibiotics helping out tremendously. So, today we talked about the origin of the Black Death, the spread of the disease, and the impact it had on the people. Let me ask you this. Is our world today prepared for a possible reoccurrence of the Black Death?